Ms. Kirschbaum, I've lost my PowerPoint. Okay, thank you very much. So this is always the time. This is always a presentation where I feel a little bit guilty talking about college preparation when you're just barely getting your feet wet in high school. But it's a very daunting task, to figure out what you want to study, where you want to study it. It's a very complicated process to apply to colleges. So, I'd like to at least give you an overview so that you can, maybe start the preparation and at least understands in a brief way what you will be facing over the next couple years as you get more into the college process. So we'll start with the next slide. Okay. So it's very important that as a family, you start discussing the plans that you may have in mind already. And oftentimes parents have plans, students have plans, guardians have plans, everyone has plans, and not necessarily communicating. So very important to just, start having those conversations. In addition, every student has been assigned a college classroom. Actually, they were assigned it as incoming freshmen, and it will follow them throughout their time in Staten Island Tech. And the Google Classroom for the college has all kinds of information. It has, scholarship information, a special program information, anything that I need you to know that I want you to do, especially as you get into your junior and senior year. But certainly even as sophomore, there's lots of opportunities that will be put on that classroom. So if you get in the habit of checking, you don't have to check every day. But if you check once a week, see what's in there. If there's anything that's interesting to you, certainly explore it. If not, move on. So eventually you're going to have to, whether for college or for NHS, put together a resume. Or if you're looking for a job, a small job, SYEP or something like that. Everyone wants a resume. And so that's going to be compiled with all your activities, any experiences that you had, any achievements that you have been awarded, all that kind of thing. And although at the moment that they occur, you feel like I'm never going to forget this. I'm going to remember this all the way through forever. And then when you come to the point where you're putting your resume together, you may not remember all the many things that you have done during the course of freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year. So start, set up a little file of some kinds where you're keeping track of the things that you have done. And not only the name of the activity, but, what it meant to you, what were the duties involved, or, what you feel maybe you learned from it. All that kind of information is going to be really important for you, especially as you move towards, putting together who you are for colleges. So start keeping track now. And if you haven't tracked what you did as a freshman, then go back in your minds and see if you can remember all the things that you have done. The more things that you explore, it's just as important to find out what you don't like. So if you try something and it's not for you, then that's fine. Then you just move on to something else. But at least you tried it, and not everybody likes everything. But it's important to explore, because the things that you like or you're interested in can very well influence the type of career that you might be interested in, or things you want to study in college and whatnot. So the more exploration you do, the better for yourself. Plenty of things in the summer, whether it's a summer program or, a lot of our students have been applying to the CIEE program, which is you can study overseas in a multitude of different countries, different topics. Every college as a summer program. There's all kinds of opportunities. Some are in person, some are remote. So again, see what's available and start kind of building up your resume of activities. And again, it's a way to rule things in or rule things out. And as much as I want you to talk to your parents and guardians, absolutely, talk to your guidance counselor also. That's what we're there for. Talk to your teachers. Talk to, if you know older students who have already graduated. Talk to them and ask about, that they have as far as what you might explore and what careers are even out there. There's so many things. Often you might, be looking at only specific. You could be a teacher, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be an engineer. You can be so many more things than that. And so the more that you talk to people that can provide you decent guidance, the more you'll start to, think about it and explore. So, okay, we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so if you haven't already, you will be soon talking with your guidance counselor about what classes that you are going to be taking in the junior year. And I know we're always kind of moving you beyond where you are, but it's just a fast pace. High school flies by in a blink of an eye. So the important thing about the choices now as you get to junior year, first of all, you have more. You have more choices that you have had in the past 2 years. So if you can align those choices that you make with your potential career or major in college that you're considering, it's very helpful. So hence why we're talking about things now, so that you can think about, what it is that you might want to explore. Colleges, especially the more prestigious colleges, are looking for rigorous course loads. So if you are able to take, 2 or 3 APs in your junior year in areas that are of interest to you, that would be wonderful. Try to think about, say, for example, I'll use engineer because that and medical are the top career choices that I hear very regularly. So for engineering, if you are interested in that, then taking some kind of AP physics class is a super important thing. Also to take advanced math. So whether it's pre-calc, depending on, everyone comes in at a different level, so you're able to access different AP classes depending on what you came into high school with. So think about that. Their colleges will be wondering if you were interested in engineering and you never took an AP physics class, in the 4 years that you were here. Why is that? Because that is fundamental to engineering, as is advanced calculus, whether it's pre-calculus, AP calculus, BC, AB, things like that for down the road. So there's a lot of importance that you can see is aligned with understanding what you might want to do and how it aligns with the courses that you choose. So, and these are conversations that when your counselor brings you in to talk about it, you can, ask them questions, as I've already said. So as you move along, ruling things in, ruling things out, you're going to reassess your goals, and your plans may change from, I always thought I wanted to do this, and now I realize maybe not. And that's perfectly normal. It's very difficult at this young age to understand what you're going to be doing as a future career. So exploration is the name of the game. So that's what you're doing right now. So as you're thinking about, college in a very general way, try to talk about location of the college. Do you want to stay in New York? Do you want to stay on the East Coast, the Northeast? You want to go to Hawaii to study? Where is it that you are interested in? have those conversations again as a family, because, a student might want to go study in the Netherlands, and the family might be like, no, I don't think so. I would like you to be within driving distance. So those are the kind of things that you want to talk about and come to some comfortable place with together. So if you could just start, getting like a preliminary list of schools that you might be interested in. There are over 4,000 schools in the United States. If you think internationally, there's exponentially more. So, just you can go on the College Board and kind of scroll through and see if anything jumps out at you. And then visit the websites, and there's so much information on every website. Often they will even have blog sites where you can have conversations with current students. And, it's just so much as a result of the pandemic that they put onto their websites that never was before. So you really can get a lot of information. And, it's kind of a thing that if you come up with a few schools that you really like, they like it, if you follow them on social media and that you reach out to them for further information, all that kind of stuff is helpful for you to learn about, like, the whole college process and what they have to offer. And it's going to be very important. I'm just going to mention it now, but as juniors, I'm going to really push it, that you need to have a professional email address that is only for college correspondence. You're not going to use your school email because that's going to disappear when you graduate. And you want something professional. So if you have another email address that maybe is, from younger days, and maybe not quite so professional, think about it. And it can be, it can be simple, but professional. And that will be the place where, you don't share that email with your friends and go back and forth in that email casually. You're going to save it just for the purpose of college, so that when it comes to it, when you finally do start applying and getting information from them, that's where you're going to go look for it. You're not going to be searching through a bunch of different email addresses, wondering which one you gave them. You're going to have one that is just for that purpose. So start thinking about it now. Okay, next slide. Okay, so there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle for the application process. So first and foremost, they're looking for rigor, a fabulous GPA, and for their purposes of assessing you for admission, they have only the grades from freshman year to the end of junior year. Of course, you're going to continue, but that's going to be the first thing that they look at. Then we will supply them with the courses that you take in senior year. And again, I'm going to be saying rigor a lot because that's for the, many of these elite schools that some of you may be wanting to apply to, or special programs. They expect, coming from a school such as ours, that you're going to have, pretty decent rigor. So for senior year, they want to see that if you have been rigorous from freshman year forward, did that continue in senior year? And if so, how are you doing with that? So all of it matters at the end of the day. And there are, some colleges that, especially for early decisions, they will be asking the college office to send them a snapshot in senior year, even before the transcript's ready, the mid-year. They'll say, please, how is so-and-so doing? And it's in November of senior year. So you're barely into school and already they want to know how you're doing, making sure that you're paying attention and that you are still a serious student. The mid-year report is standard, and that's the first transcript that you have to record officially your grades for first semester senior year. That's a very important document, and the colleges have literally been asking me for that since early January. And our term just really ended the end of January. So I've been spending this week sending out those mid-years, but they've been looking for them because they're looking at the entire country. So other parts of the country start school before we do, and they end before we do. So, they send out a blanket request for mid-year starting in January. So standardized tests, the SAT, the ACT, most schools have been, if they wanted them in the past, pre-pandemic, they're starting to ask for them again. There are certain colleges in the country that have not used SAT as a data point in, better than 20 years. They're the rarity, but they are there. And then they have many schools that during the pandemic and for a few years afterwards were not using standardized scores, excluding MIT, who always wanted the scores. But now they're moving back towards, wanting those SATs again. Our students, for the most part, even when they were optional, they were submitting the scores. So I'm assuming that would be the case for, this grade level too. So it's one more data point. It's not going to make up for a poor GPA, and it's not going to make up for a lack of activities and community service and things like that. It's just one more point. So if you have all those other things covered, your grades are good, you're involved in, activities and clubs and sports, and you maybe have had a small job, and I'm talking about between now and senior year when you're applying, all that is part of this application. And sometimes, our students who are in SERP, so many of you probably are in SERP now because sophomore year is a large group, goes into SERP. But the students that continue junior year and senior year really are distinguishing themselves because a lot of people, the majority of people will say, too much work for me, I'm busy enough with school, and they say, thank you, but I'm not going to continue. So it's a way, if you like research, to really distinguish yourself. Things like that are really important because everyone in our school is bright. That's not the issue. It's how to distinguish one bright student from another. It's by the activities and things that you get involved with. So the other piece, very big, is going to be the essay, the Common App essay. Most of you will be applying that way. And that's where you get a chance to talk about who you are and things that you're interested in or some topic that is appealing to you. There will be prompts that they offer to you to pick from. In every college that you apply to will say, thank you for the Common App essay. We also want you to do supplemental essays for us. Can be 1, 2, 3, 5. Depends on the college and how rigorous and if it's a special program. So all of that is part of it. And of course, teacher recommendations, super important. So, get in the habit of fostering relationships with your teachers, because even though you're going to wait until junior year to get those recommendations, if you are used to developing relationships with your teachers now, junior year is just going to come naturally to you. You're not going to say, well, I don't really talk to my teacher. They don't really know me. If you get used to doing that now, they will know you because you will talk to them and it will be easy for you to do. So you're practicing now as sophomores for what you're going to be doing as juniors. And of course, everyone gets a counselor recommendation and school reports and things like that. And for the most part, that's me because I'm the college counselor. Sometimes students feel very close to their guidance counselor, and that's fine. They can write the letter for you. But all those pieces are part of the overall application process. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so as I have said, of course they want you to, they're interested in the classes that you have taken, and they want to see, whether or not maybe they're in alignment with what your saying you would like to major in, but they also want to know, they're looking for indications of character. So character is really important part of the application process, and it's shown through these activities. Now that doesn't mean you do something because you want to demonstrate character and you're not interested. You're going to look through this list, for example, extracurriculars, student government, teams, study abroad, internships, work, CERP, bands, whatever it is, and much more, right? Students get involved in outside organizations that do, civic engagement. They're working on, voter registration or community outreach and all kinds of things. So whatever it is that really is enjoyable to you, that's what you put your attention to, because then you will be enthusiastic about it. You'll be willing to sacrifice your time to devote to it, and it will be part of building the brand, so to say, of who you are and what you can be expected to do once you come to college. So how do you know that if you don't explore these possibilities, and see what you like? And there's certainly on this slide is, there's a few ideas, but there are certainly many more. Our students are really good at doing their research and finding all kinds of opportunities that speak to them as individuals. There's not one answer for every student. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so as looking forward, because everything counts, right? Some of you in 8th grade took classes that count. You got credit for coming into high school, maybe with some science or math. So it all counts. And so doing the best that you can is really what you can start doing right now, because it starts to, even if maybe you struggled freshman year, if you are now, found your footing and you understand how to study and manage your time better, then you're, the improvement in your grades is as important as starting off, at the top. So not everybody starts off there. It's a process and it's very individual. So you're looking to achieve your personal best, not somebody else's personal best. So organizing your time, making sure that you add into your day things that you're interested in and that you enjoy. Because if it's, there's an expression, all work and no play, makes Jack a dull boy. It's a very old saying. But if you have interests that really keep you energized and you want to get to them, you'll find that, the busier you are, it tends to be that you do a better job of organizing your time, because you want to make sure you can get to those activities that you like. And the bottom line is that school is the main priority, and those other things you have to manage, not the other way around. You don't want to, give short shrift to your school and, dive into all these other outside activities. There's finding that balance is super important. And this next part about the appropriate test taking schedule, I'm referring to the SAT in particular. Students and parents, I'm not sure where they get their information, but often will say to me that, my child is going to take their first SAT the summer of sophomore year. So that's like you all taking it this coming summer. And I'm asking you to reconsider that. Colleges look at SATs, those that look at them, look at SATs in a certain light. And they believe or agree that taking 3 over the course of time is perfectly acceptable. No one will bat an eye. If you take more than that, it's very questionable. And they start to wonder, well, just when is this going to stop? And why is the student continuing to take this exam? So you don't want to draw negative attention to yourself. So And my dream is that you all are going to wait until spring of junior year to take your first SAT. There is zero reason to take it before then. You have not developed, your intellect, who you are as sophomores. By the time spring of junior year, you're a new person. You are a new person. You have matured, you have learned, you have had experiences, you just have grown. And that's not to be underestimated. And if you're wasting time trying to force knowledge on yourself to get a score on this exam, you're really wasting your resources. Time is something we never get back. However we use it, that's what happens. You never get it back. There's no backsies with time. So there is time enough for the SAT. If you take it in the spring of junior year, you still have August of your rising senior year, October and November, which brings you to 3. If you wanted to, I hope you don't. I hope you do great and you don't want to take it again. But if you had to and wanted to, you have all the way through November to get that 3rd one done. And it will be in plenty of time for any college that you apply to early. They will always wait for electronic scores. They will not wait for your application. So please, I ask you to just really think it through. And I'm happy to report, I started my junior interviews last month. And I would say 9 out of 10 of each group of students I speak to said to me, I haven't taken my SAT yet. I'm taking it in March. And I'm so happy for them and so excited. Because normally that kind of advice doesn't go well. People are very test oriented. So please take it under advisement and do with it what you will. And we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so creating that college file is going to help you next year when I call you in and say, have you thought about what college? And you're going to say, well, yes, I have. And here's my list. So it's very helpful. And because the way things are, that every college has their own process, they have their own specialty, they have, everything is individualized. You really have to do the research to make sure that, just because you know the name of a school and, a lot of people that have applied to it doesn't mean that it's going to be a great choice for you. And you have to do the research yourself and keep a file because, just like with the resume that you're not going to particularly remember your things you did freshman year, same thing. If you're just going through websites and looking, it could be that, you're not going to really remember, like, which one was it that I really was impressed with? Which one did I really want to go to visit? So, create a file, research schools, keep track because it's very, very overwhelming. You can do that through the College Board. There's a section on the College Board. You should all, if you haven't set up a College Board account, you will be doing it soon. And there's a big future section there. And you make a profile and you say, yeah, I want this area of the country and this size of a school and all the things that you find important to you. And it will generate a list of schools like you can't even believe. And then just start looking at them. Go on their websites, take some notes. I know some families are already exploring, like going out. I love when people come and they tell me, we took a trip and we went to Boston and we saw 5 different schools and, we're planning on going to Philly or we're going upstate or, going down to DC. There's a lot of things, great schools in driving distance that, as a family, if you can plan it and you can do it, it's really wonderful to be on a campus, to see what it's like, to talk to the actual players, and imagine yourself there. So it doesn't hurt to do it early. And if you have older siblings, maybe you've already gone with them. and, to see some schools and think about, was any of those schools something that you were interested in? Virtual tours are still a thing. And most colleges still offer them, and you can check on their websites. And often I'll be posting, if I come upon, if they email me and say, let your students know that, they can sign up for virtual tours or information sessions and all this kind of stuff. So back to checking that college classroom regularly to find that information. And, start thinking about how your interests, talents, abilities align with a potential career. We have a couple of College Now classes right now for student development that are happening right now. And this week, the students did a personality test. And, it helped match them to where their strengths were and careers that might suit, their innate abilities. And it was very interesting because some of them, they were saying, I don't think so. It didn't sound like me. But then for other students, it was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So it's interesting to see how your innate abilities can direct you in your career. So, okay. Next slide. Okay. So we'll do a little projection. Usually I'm more inclined to stay in the day, but since it is, a big process, we'll give you a little peek into what to expect in junior year. So you can maybe fully appreciate the luxury of being a sophomore right now. It's going to be super busy. You're going to feel lots of stress about getting your transcript in order and getting all the rigor in place to the best of your ability. And that's the stuff of junior year that you're just really, trying to, it's not your last opportunity, but people feel as if, oh my goodness, if I don't do it now, when? So you're busy doing all that. And, again, in the spring, the SATs, ACTs, some of our students prefer ACT. That's an individual decision. I still would suggest you wait and take it in the springtime rather than earlier. And you have to make sure that whatever colleges you're interested in, if they require the SAT or the ACT, it could be either or, and whether or not it's optional. So again, as I said, that's really something that you guys don't pay attention to anyway. You're submitting it. So, and make sure that by junior year, you have a history of being committed, which is why really sophomore year is important to think about this, because if you are interested in something now, consider sticking with it. Because if there's longevity attached to an interest, it's more impactful than if you have 5 or 6 interests that you did, like I did it freshman year, I did that, sophomore year, I did this, junior year, I did that, but there's no continuity across the grades with that particular activity or events. It's not as impactful. It just looks like you're kind of all over the place. So if you find something now that, is working for you, consider committing to it and then working maybe towards a leadership position or whatever it is. So that by junior year, though, I'm usually part of my thing will be don't add anything new. Do things in the summer, of course, because that's what everybody expects college-wise, but don't add new activities junior year because then it looks like you're scrambling. So this is now your sophomore year is your time to explore and see what you're going to hang on to, so that it'll serve you the best to have, a few years that you have been devoted to this activity. Okay, so you'll have as juniors, you're going to have an invitation to our college fair in the spring. So this year it's the 24th of March. And, we generally have between 60 and 80 colleges that come. It's a great opportunity to actually meet some of the reps that are going to be looking at your application down the road, ask them questions, gather, whatever literature they have. And again, if you're in my College Now class, there's going to be an assignment that goes with that. You have to ask specific questions and then come back with the answers that they gave you. It's important to get used to just asking questions and not being shy about, approaching an adult with a question. And the more you do it, the easier you find it will be. Most people want to answer. They're waiting. Please ask me a question, especially at these fairs. They're lined up with the purpose of, attracting students and talking to them and encouraging them. So that you're going to have access to in your junior year. And then in senior year, and we'll have the individual sessions that like I'm doing now. It takes me from January till like the end of May to meet with every single junior. So it's my favorite thing. It really is. It's really is my favorite thing. Every year I say the same thing. These are amazing students. I can't believe the things that they're doing and how bright they are and giving me hope, for the world at large, because it just, this is what we need. We need really well-educated people to go out there and do great things. And that's what you guys do. So you'll be doing that. In senior year, I'm not sure if that's maybe on another slide, but I'm going to say it now. In senior year, in the first few months from beginning of October through November, sometimes we go a little bit into December, we have the reps come into our school and they meet with small groups of students, sometimes large groups, depends on the popularity of the school. And then you have like the captured attention of that rep in a small setting. In the fair, you get an overview, just like you're kind of getting now. But in senior year with those individual sessions, you get a great opportunity to talk, one-on-one with the reps. And it's really, really helpful with the whole decision-making process. So scholarships, once you get into school now, you got to figure out how you're going to pay for it. And it's helpful, if you can get some scholarships. So there are all kinds of scholarship sites, and certainly the College Board is a good place to start. Going Merry, I suggest students do. They're all free. I'm not going to ever ask you to do anything that's not free. And if you find something that wants you to pay, don't do it, because it's many free sites. So these are the ones that we recommend. The Going Merry, FastWeb, raiseme.com is an interesting kind of a scholarship where you earn credit, monetary credit, for every grade that you get in high school. So from freshman year straight on through senior year, you can get, X amount of dollars in scholarship for certain grades, and for taking an SAT or taking, having a certain average, all kinds of things that add up. Now, not every school accepts them, Raise Me scholarships, but at this point, there are over 300 schools that do recognize Raise Me as legitimate scholarships that they will accept. So it doesn't take anything except every year putting in your grades, for that term. And you can always backtrack because, clearly you haven't done it, because I'm just telling you now. But you can backtrack to freshman year and, update to where you are, and then just keep adding them along the way. And check the schools that are accepting the scholarship from Raise Me, and see if it's a school that you're interested in. It's really no harm to do it. And again, you're going to watch the classroom for opportunities and scholarships. And, there are some like mentoring programs that have scholarships attached to them. There's just so much out there that, we try to give you as much as we can. But sometimes students come to me with stuff and I'm like, I don't even know where you found that. Because there just are literally thousands of things out there in the world that you can access. So it's a lot of work. Next slide. Okay, so So senior year, sad to say, just as busy in a different way. At this point, the problem is time management, because although I recommend every senior to start their applications in August, some of them do not, and they wait until September, and now they're kind of scrambling because, you come back to school, you have class, and you have tests, and you have projects, and you have presentations, and you have all that, and you're trying to apply to college. So put this in the back of your memory somewhere, that August 1st is the time to start compiling your Common App, get it set, get the essay should be written. The essay can be written way before then, but, get that set up. History colleges, match to Naviance, sign the FERPA, everything that you have to do. And you'll know all about that when you get there. But the more of that you do ahead of time, the less stress you're going to have senior year. Because that's what it's really all about. Senior year is people tend to panic if they have not prepared. And they start worrying, like, how can I make this better? And the truth of the matter is you just have to work with the cards you dealt at that point and use your time wisely. So August, remember that. Put that. That's 2027 calendar in September. I hope I did my August Common App. All right. So truly, to have that list of colleges set in stone before you come back to school, because trying to figure out which schools in September and applying and everything in school is just way too much. It's way too much, and there's no reason for it. We start talking about it in sophomore year, so you have a heads up for a long time about what to consider. So the list should be not only schools that you dream of attending, but should be schools that you are able to attend. So a safety school is a school that you're more than qualified to attend, and it needs to be a school that you would be reasonably happy at. Target school, you're right on target, exactly what they want. It's you're ready, it's good. And then there'll be those dream schools. But the dream schools should never outweigh the target. And the safeties really shouldn't outweigh the target, because the target is really where you belong. And the other thing, safety is just in case, and reaches, why not? But you don't want it to be lopsided, because it's a lot of work trying to convince a college that you are not, fully in alignment with, whether it be because of grades or activities or whatever it is. There's still an opportunity to convince them that you're a good candidate, but that's a lot of work. So you can't be doing that multiple times. And again, these are my professional suggestions. Do with them what you will. But these are the things that all the students at Staten Island Tech hear on a regular from me. Get used to the different types of applications. The Common App is the most common for us, but there's also the Coalition and school specific. And I don't want to go too much into it. School specific is just what it seems that the school itself says you have to apply through us. We don't accept the Common App. And Coalition is a conversation for another time. But those are the things to think about. Determine the strategy that you're going to use. So now in 2026, there's been a new kind of twist where they have, not only do they have early action, restrictive early action, regular decision, they have ED2, which is a binding agreement, just like ED, but the deadline to apply is January. So if you have in mind that, yes, I would like to do an ED to a school, but I feel like I need more time to get this application in the order it needs to be good representation of me. Maybe I'll do ED2. And so then you have from the time you come in September all the way till the end of December to do a solid application. Cross all the T's, dot all the I's, have people help review it with you and all this kind of wonderful stuff. It's pretty new. And I didn't think it was going to spread, but it seems like it is spreading. And, some of the more prestigious schools have ED2 now. So it's an interesting phenomenon. But it could be part of your strategy that maybe you'll do some early actions because they're non-binding and hold off on that ED until ED2. So these are things to think about. All things that you need to know ahead of time. You can't just randomly say, I'm going to do ED because it's the whole process. You have to get parent signatures and all this stuff that you will hear more about next year. And then restricted early action is, like Stanford, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. I think I'm leaving somebody out. I don't know who it is. But they have this restrictive early process. So they're not going to bind you to it because it's an early action, but it's highly restrictive. So if you want to go to one of those Ivies and you want to apply early, then know that you can't apply to anything else, any other private institution in any early manner whatsoever, and no binding agreements at all. So it's highly restrictive, but they're doing it because they want you to care about just the one institution. Okay. So all of this, again, we're going to go on and on and on. Then you'll be dealing with the FAFSA, the TAP, the CSS profile. So it's busy senior year, and financial questions come into my office daily. So enjoy the quiet before the storm. But it's not like you can get to senior year and it's going to be smooth sailing. If you take some of the suggestions, it can be smoother, but you will be busy. I don't want to, mislead you. All right, next slide. All right, so some tips for sophomore year. Procrastination does not make you do better work, which is usually what I hear from people. Oh, procrastination makes me think better. I'm more productive. It's not true. And it's a terrible habit. If you take it with you into your future life, you'll find it's going to trip you up. In college, it'll be impossible. And in career, it's going to be, a detriment. So just understand now that procrastination, they call it the thief of time for a reason. And it's not helpful on any rationalization. It's just not helpful. Check your Google Classroom for, at least weekly at this point. You'll do it more often, maybe in junior year, but now you want to pop in every now and again. Start trying to, sketch out some vague plan for college, and understanding that it's going to morph into something as you go along and get more information. Keep your grades up. Maybe even sit with your counselor and go through where you feel you are right now and what you might do to increase your chances of improving your grades. Counselors are there to help you in all areas, but we are not mind readers, so you need to let us know what you want or what you need. So please take advantage of the counseling office and make an appointment to sit with your counselor to talk about whatever it is. So volunteer, participate in activities, and again, it's a character, indicator, and reach out for help. That's what we're here to do. We're in the building 5 days a week to support you. The college office, the guidance counselors, the social worker, the SAPS counselor, everybody's there as support for you as you're, traveling this journey of being in high school. So, stop in. I have students all the time just stopping in to say hi. I know I'm only, I have freshmen come in. I think it's the sweetest thing. I'm not ready, but I wanted to get used to coming in. So they just pop in to say hello. And, certainly that's wonderful. Just get used to, just like in class, get used to talking to people and asking questions, and it's easier. Okay, next slide. Okay, so keep your mind sharp through the summer. However that is, it's pretty well known fact that if you don't exercise your brain during the summer, the first month of school is like, you're trying to jumpstart yourself again. So it doesn't mean you have to be, working and studying and pushing yourself as if you're in school, but, keep yourself busy and active in things that are stimulating to your brain. And, see what's interesting out there. It's a big world, and see what you want to get involved in. Research some majors and see what's involved in them. Someone today just said to me they always wanted to be a doctor until they realized it was going to be, 12 to 16 years of schooling and residency and all this, and they were like, I don't want to do it. It's good to know because that's what's entailed. So it's really important to, start getting honest about this stuff. And again, this is just all repetitive. Start thinking about your resume and that email address that you can use just for college. And, before you know it, you're juniors. Before you know it, you're seniors, and you're walking across the stage. It's so quick. It's very exciting, though. It's exciting to watch from my side. And I know parents and guardians are thrilled and nervous and happy and everything all at the same time. So, try to enjoy the journey, because that's why we're doing this. We're having these meetings to help you kind of push along the way. And I think there's one final slide, which is more, it's a good way to close. And it's just, we don't even know who wrote this. It's something that is written anonymously. Don't study because you need to. Study because knowledge is power. Study because knowledge can never be taken from you. Study because you want to know more, because it enables you to grow. Study because it enriches you. So all those things are true. So if there are any, so we have a question here. The PSAT counts in the 3 SATs. No, it's totally unrelated. PSAT is a preparatory test. And when you take the PSAT as a junior, it will give you an opportunity to be considered for a National Merit Scholarship, potentially, depending on how well you do. But it's unrelated to the SAT. Any other questions? So a resume should be 1 page, especially now, and for the purposes of college, because consider a school like NYU gets 125,000 applicants, 125,000 resumes, and as they're going through all the documents, they are not going beyond a page. So if you send them a resume that's 5 pages long, hopefully everything you thought was important was on page 1, because that's going to be it. So you really need to be concise. So 1 page. Anything else? Okay. Well, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. And I will be seeing all the students Monday, right after school, in person, to field more questions about this. Okay. See you then. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.